Good morning, this is Jim, 5714 Collector, bringing you another video this morning. Today I thought I would talk about the great Frank Robinson. I do not think I've done a video about Frank, and I thought it's well past due because he was one of the greatest right fielders of all time. Two-time MVP. Of course, he won MVPs in both leagues in 1961 with the Cincinnati Reds. And of course, the Triple Crown year of 1966, he won the MVP with the Orioles. He was also on the other championship teams with Baltimore, 1966, of course, 1969, where they lost to the Mets in 5 games. They were world champs against the Reds in 1970, 5 games there. And then in 1971, of course, they lost Game 7 to the Pirates and Steve Blass and the great Roberto Clemente. Of course, he's the first African-American manager. So he's a trailblazer in his own right, certainly one of the greatest players. Some people call him underrated. He might be, but he was a great player. And 586 home runs, over 1,800 RBIs. Just a fantastic player. He fell short of 3,000 hits. I think he had 2,943. So, very great ball player. And I have some cards here. I thought it would be fun. Let's show some Frank Robinson cards this morning. Just a great all-around player and a person. And me being an Orioles fan and watching those late 60s, early 70s Oriole teams, it was a treat to see Frank Robinson in the lineup. So here's the first card we're going to show. I've shown this card. This was sent to me by one of my viewers, and I featured this on a video already, but this is just a beautiful card here. The 58 All-Star Topps, beautiful card. And I'm getting ready to go to the Chantilly show here. I think it's 2 weeks away, if I remember right. And I got a couple Frank Robinson cards on my list. So whether I get them, I don't know, but I'm looking for the 58 base card, of course, and also 1959, because I've seen a lot of people, Jason, everyday card collector, talk about that 59 Topps card, and it is a beauty, and I want that in my collection. So that's a goal of mine, the 58 Topps and the 59 Topps to get Frank Robinson. We'll see if that happens. So here we got the 1961 Topps Frank Robinson with the Reds. And I might have messed that up. This might be 1960. I think it's 61. I get these years mixed up. So I apologize for that. But there's the back. And that's a beautiful card too. That's pretty cool. Then we have the Reds Heavy Artillery. That's pretty cool. Thought I would show that this morning with Gus Bell and Vada Pinson. And Vada Pinson's another guy that could be a Hall of Famer. He's right on that line. Great player in his own right. So I just thought that's pretty cool. And then I have the 1964 Topps Frank Robinson there. That's a beautiful card. The 64 Topps are pretty cool. That's a pretty cool. I'm looking for 64 Koufax also. I got like 1 or 2 Koufax cards in my collection. I would love to have the 64 and 65 Koufaxes. So there's Frank there with the Reds. Here's the 1965 with Cincinnati. That's pretty cool. Another beautiful year. Topps did some great cards in the 60s. Fantastic. Love the backs. Love that blue back. Easy to read. And of course, Frank just had some tremendous years and all that. So, great player. So here's the 1966 with the Orioles. Of course, he's got the Reds uniform on. Everybody sees that. So, because he got traded from the Reds to the Orioles, I think it was December 8th or December 9th of 1965. And of course, Topps probably didn't have time to get an updated photo because this is card number, what is that, 310. So maybe if it had been in a later series, maybe. But that's okay. Still a great card. Here's the 1967, that's a pretty card. That's pretty cool. Spring training shot, it looks like. Love the Orioles down here in yellow. Yellow pops on these cards and all that. So here's the back. Now, that's pretty awesome. Of course, shows the Triple Crown year and all that on the back. So pretty cool. 49 home runs, which was the most he ever hit in a season. Had 122 RBIs and hit 316. So pretty awesome stuff. Here's the champs. Frank Brooks and Hank Bauer. And I have some 66 World Series cards showing some of the Orioles too, and from the 67 set, but they're in another box, so I'll have to show them another day. But this is pretty cool. Love that card, and it's card number 1. So pretty awesome. And we will show these. And I thought I had all of these. I guess I do not. I don't have the batting leaders, but here's the home run leaders. So a couple Hall of Famers, Frank Robinson, Harmon Killebrew, and of course the great Boog Powell. So that's pretty cool stuff. So pretty awesome. And then we have the RBI leaders, and there they are again. So pretty cool. So if I remember right, yeah, Willie Horton had 100, and Brooks had 100. So Brooks and Willie Horton tied for 4th with the RBIs that year. So that's pretty cool. I think, if I remember right, 1966, Brooks finished 2nd in the MVP voting. So pretty cool stuff. Here's a 1968 Topps Frank Robinson. That's a cool photo. Nice headshot there. Got the backs. That's pretty awesome. Love that card too. Frank Robinson there. And I've shown this card at least once. Here's Bird Belters. Frank and Brooks here. This is a semi-high number, so it's 530. That's a beautiful card too. Just love that one. That's pretty neat. I've seen other channels show this card, and this is just a beauty. And we got a couple more leader cards here, and I'll show them in a minute. Let me show the game card, the triple. There you go. These are pretty cool too. I have a couple of these. I have Brooks, and I think Carl Yastrzemski, and a couple others. Don't really collect them, but with the guys that I do, like the Oriole guys and all that, I like to have a. Oh, there it goes to the floor this morning, so I dropped that. So again, the game card. And then we have a couple more leader cards. We have the batting leaders. So Carl Yastrzemski, Frank, and Al Kaline. So that's pretty cool. So that would show that this morning. Let's see, Yastrzemski hit 326 that year. Great year for him. And Frank hit 311. So Kaline hit 308. And here we got the home run leaders. 3 Hall of Famers there. Of course, Yaz had that great year in 67 when he won the Triple Crown. And him and Killebrew tied for the home run lead with 44. So pretty awesome stuff. Frank, just so you know that, the RBIs and all that. So here's the RBIs. It's 121 for Yaz, 113 for Killebrew, and Frank had 94. So pretty cool. Now let's show the 1969. This is an awesome card. That's a beauty right there. That is sharp. Now I'd like to see this up here being yellow, the match instead of the green, but that's okay. Or you just, either way, if you do green and green or yellow and yellow, it would have looked better, but still a beautiful card. And of course the old style uniforms are beautiful. Love those. And then we have 1970. This is a high number. There's Frank right there. I bought this card years ago at Chantilly. I picked this up in the 70 Al Kaline, both high numbers at the same time. Got a pretty good deal on both cards. So that's a pretty card. Again, these backs are so easy to read. Pretty awesome stuff. And then we have, I think this one has a price tag. It does. That's okay. Here's the All-Star from 1970. And I don't even know if that's the right price or not anymore. It's been so long since I bought the card, but very cool write-up on there about Frank. So we have here's the 71 Topps, these cards are awesome. I'm thinking about getting this graded just because I love to have the SGC holders with the 71. Because the 71 Topps set with those black borders and an SGC holder just pop. And they are beautiful. And I've had a couple cards graded. Bob Gibson's been graded and Jim Palmer. And I think I got Catfish Hunter and a couple others. And the 71s are really awesome in those SGCs. So, but there's the 71. Love that set too. Here's one from the World Series game number 3. Frank shows muscle. That's pretty cool. And without even looking, I think that's Paul Blair, if I remember right. And of course, these show the stats on the back, which is pretty cool. And of course, that was the Brooks Robinson series, of course. And everybody knows Brooks hit 429 in that series. Paul Blair actually had a better average than Brooks. I think he hit 474 or something like that. He was 9 for 19. Brooks was 9 for 21. So just a little bit of trivia for you. Here's the 72 Topps. Beautiful, beautiful set. My all-time favorite set of all the Topps series and the times I was collecting. I like the 72 better than the 71, but just a beautiful card. Other than these backs, which are hard to read, but the fronts, that blue and the yellow, that is just gorgeous. So the great Frank Robinson there. And we have the traded. Here's the traded Frank Robinson. So that's pretty cool. And I picked this card up at a card shop in Annandale, Virginia, Collector's World, and sent this in. So that's a pretty one too. So 72, traded. We got a couple more here. We got the 1973 with the Angels. Orioles, of course, traded him to the Angels after the 72 season, early in the 73, before spring training, that time frame. So there's the back of that. And this card, I think, doesn't that look like it's been airbrushed too? But that's okay. Still like that. That's pretty cool. So, and it might have been you know what? Let me look at that again. Yeah, okay, just want to make sure, because just wanted to check that. So, 74, here's Frank here. Pretty awesome. Yeah, Frank just had a great run of some beautiful cards and all that. So, and I hope that's not reflecting with that cup. I got a cup back here, and I think it's reflecting some. So I apologize for that. I'm going to show this cup here in a minute. Here's 1975. This is the year that he was named manager of the Cleveland Indians. So again, the first African-American manager, well-deserved honor. Should have been managing anytime before that. He was a player manager. And well-deserved honor, because he's just an awesome player, awesome human being, and very, very intelligent, knew the game. Let's say it that way. So, knew the game. Here's these are pretty cool. I don't know if I have the 66 one, but I do have the one here from 1961. That's the backs of those, so that's pretty cool. Here's a team card. That's pretty awesome. And what I like about this, it says manager Frank Robinson on the bottom. So that's pretty cool stuff. Of course, you got the checklist on the back. And just a couple others. I thought it would be cool to show these. Here's with the Giants. So that's pretty awesome. 82. That's pretty cool. And I also have this. I've got the Rochester Red Wings minor league set when Frank was managing in 1978. So that's pretty awesome too. Something different. You don't see these every day. This is the set I had with the Tim Stoddard that I got the autograph through the mail from Tim Stoddard. So just wanted to show the Frank Robinson. So I have a couple of the things I want to show this morning. Let me show the cup first. So I have one of the 7-Eleven cups with Frank on the Dodgers. And I've got some more cups up here. One day I'll show them. I'll do a, Slurpee cup show or something like that. I don't have all, obviously, I used to have all of them when I was a kid. And these were 25 cents when they came out. Your Slurpee cost $0.25. So that's what it costs to fill up a Slurpee cup. So there you go. And these are about 12 ounces or so. But there you go. Frank Robinson. Pretty cool stuff. Let's do it this way. So I have the Beckett Vintage Collector magazine with Frank after he passed away. I just want to make sure I showed that this morning because I thought that was pretty cool. And I keep it in one of these to keep it halfway decent. And then what's really awesome here. So I have the 44th annual program, National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, July 31st and August 1st, 1983, published by the Sporting News. Check this out. Is that pretty cool or what? So I have one of those. Now, I have this in 83, but it doesn't show Brooks on it. It's kind of funny, but I'll show that sometime. But it's got a nice article and all that. But that's pretty awesome there. Just wanted to show that this morning. A couple other things here. I got a Frank Robinson statue. And I have the Oriole statues that they gave away in 2012 at Oriole Park. I have all 6 of them. And Frank's one of them. I have them up on my shelf. So maybe one day I'll do a show about those. But this is Frank from 2013. So that's a pretty cool thing. And one other thing I have, I got it out this morning. I thought it would be cool. And I'm not an autograph guy. I do collect some players. It depends, if I really want them or not. But years and years ago, my 2 daughters and I found out that Frank Robinson was going to be signing autographs outside a car dealership up in Maryland. We lived in Maryland at the time. So we went out and stood in line and all that for probably about an hour or so. But I got this autograph, official baseball autograph by Frank Robinson. So I think I have 15 or 16 baseballs autographed with Frank being one of them. I got one from Jim Palmer also, and I'll do a Jim Palmer show one day and show his cards and all that too. But I thought it'd be cool to show the Frank Robinson autographed baseball. Here's the official Bobby Brown American League Baseball. So I thought that was pretty cool. And again, Frank Robinson was just one of those trailblazers. He played from 1957 when he won Rookie of the Year, of course, with Cincinnati, all the way up through, if I remember right, 1976. So he played 20 years in the majors. And he's just had a fantastic career, fun guy to watch play, very intense competitor. And if you want to talk about guys that were intense as hitters, Frank would be up there. Just like you have Bob Gibson and Don Drysdale that were very intense, intimidating pitchers. Frank Robinson was an intimidating player. And Brooks Robinson, I read a book, and I read a book about Brooks Robinson. I've read a couple actually, but he made a quote. Spring training in 1966, he said when Frank Robinson showed up, got into the batting cages, saw all the power that Frank had, Brooks turned around and told his teammates, "We're going to win the World Series. If we got the guy." And I always thought that was a funny story about Frank. He was just that kind of clubhouse presence, and he expected his teammates to play 100% because that's how he played the game. And you know what? They went out there and won the World Series, beat the favorite Dodgers and swept them. And they pitched 3 shutouts, of course, McNally, Wally Bunker, and Jim Palmer. And they shut the Dodgers down with no runs those last 3 games. They won the first game 5-2. Funny thing about that, Frank and Brooks connected back-to-back in the game 1. So that's pretty cool too. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the Frank Robinson show this morning. I thought it's been long overdue that I show the great Frank Robinson and some of the stuff I have. I will see you guys again on Sunday when I do part 5 of the 72 Topps baseball set. I'm working on the index cards, and I'm a lot of fun doing that series. And I've got a lot of positive comments about that too. So, but today, being Friday morning, I thought it's time to show some Frank Robinson memorabilia. So I hope everybody enjoyed it. If you get a chance, please comment. Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. And I will see you guys on Sunday morning with part 5 of the 72 Topps baseball set. Have a great day. Bye-bye.